Okay, for Bellwork 29, what we have here is we have 2 key signatures. Your goal is to, or task is to identify each of these key signatures, then write the scale, okay? And that's what's gonna be our quiz tomorrow. But then we're also today gonna be writing in the triads for that. So we're gonna do this together now that you guys have had some time to try it on your own. We have 3 flats in this key signature. With our flats, we're gonna take that F at the end of our BGCF, put it in the front. Oops. Just rewriting it. Okay, so take the F that was in the end, put it in the front. Count how many flats you have, which we have 3, and count that many letters in. F, B, E. So this isn't E major, this is E flat major. Remember that when we're using this, F major is just regular F, but all the rest of these are B flat, E flat, A flat, and so on. Okay, we have E flat major, so now we know that our tonic is going to be E flat. That means that's the note we have to start with on the scale. We have 2 E's that we can start with, or E flats. This one, or the top one. If you start with the top one, you're just going to need to go down. I'm going to do the bottom one just because I like going from the bottom to the top. So that's our E flat, our tonic note that we're starting on. What you can do is you can go note by note, like write this one in and then name it, and then write the next one in and name it, or you can just write in all the notes all the way to the octave and then go back and name it, which is what I'm going to do right now. So work your way all the way up to the octave. There we go. There's E flat. Back to our tonic. It should be a total of 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you don't have 8, then that means you skipped a note somewhere, okay? Be very careful of that on the quiz. Okay, now we've got our entire scale. We just need to name the notes. Remember, you don't need to put flats on the notes themselves because that's what the key signature is for. But when you're naming the note, we do need to add a little flat sign. So what I would say is when you're building up the scale and naming the notes, I would just take your 3 flats right here and list them. Oops. It's going to start with B flat, right? Our key signature starts with B flat, then E flat, then A flat. Now, as you're building your scale, you can just look back to this and see which ones you need to add. So we have E flat, F, G, which is just regular. And then we have A, which is supposed to be A flat. And then B, which is supposed to be B flat. And then we'll have C, and then D, and then to E flat, back to our tonic. So that's our entire scale. That's what your quiz is going to be tomorrow. You're going to have a key signature. You need to identify it. Then you'll know where to start on tonic. Then I would write your accidentals and the key signature up top, so that way when you're naming your notes through the scale, it just makes it really easy to look back on. And yes.
So basically the flats right there, you have to put them while you mark it.
These right here?
Yeah.
So not on the actual notes themselves, because the notes, the flats are already in the key signature, but when you are naming them, yes. You're adding that little flat sign only for the ones that are right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so you can just look right here if you want, but it's also just easier to write them out. And then that way when you're building the scale, you can just look back over here really quick.
So it just depends like what they are.
Yes. Yeah, because technically, like, we know that this is E flat. We don't need to put the flat sign because it's in the key signature, but we don't want to call it E because that would be the wrong note. It has to be E flat. Okay, so now we're going to do our next step, which is writing in the triads. This is really easy once you get to this point. It's just a formula that you're following for every single one of these. So remember, in a scale, we have things called scale degrees. These are for each of the notes, right? So scale degree 1 is E flat and E flat major. Scale degree 2 is F, scale degree 3 is G, and so on. For each of these scale degrees, they are going to be called the root of our triads, of our 3-note chords. So check this out. When you have the first note, the root, add a skip above it, or a third, and another skip above that, which would be your 5th. That gives us our triad. We have our root, 3rd, and 5th. Every one of these triads, the very bottom note, which is our, whatever the scale degree was in the actual scale, like E flat or F or G, those are all going to be the root. Okay, at the very bottom, just like a tree, the bottom of a tree has roots. Okay, For our next one, we're gonna have F as our root. So all we're gonna do is build our third and fifth above it, or just skip and skip. And that'll give you your, F minor triad. Let's go over that really quick too. Remember the Roman numerals from Monday? These tell you whether they're major or minor. If it's capital like 1, 4, and 5, those are your major chords. If it's lowercase like 2, 3, and 6, those are your minor chords. So this would be our E major, right? And this would be our F minor chord, because we have F, A flat, C. The next one we have G as our root. We're going to build our third and fifth. That will give us G, B flat, and D, and that will be our minor 3 chord, or triad, I should say. The next one will be our root as A flat, then our third is C, fifth is E flat, and that's going to be our major 4 chord. Okay, and then our major 5 chord, our B flat, is going to be B flat, D, and then F. So this doesn't change how this looks. For every one of our scale degrees or roots, we're just adding a third and a fifth, 2 skips above it every single time. Okay? You don't have to worry about, well, how do I know if I'm making it major or minor? If you're following the key signature, you're doing it. It will always be this way. Okay? So our next one is going to be C, E flat, and G. That would be our minor 6 chord. And then for our 7th, don't forget, if you get up this high, you're gonna have to write in, let me write that better, your ledger line, because we have line, line, so the next skip that we do needs to also be on a line, like that. And then for our last one, E flat, going back to the 1 chord, the major 1 chord, we need to write in that line again. Gosh, that was terrible. You do it a little better than that. There we go. It looks so spaced out still, hold on. There we go. Even though the note itself is not on the line, you still need to draw the line so you can show that it's above it, okay? So once you identify your key signature, and you get tonic, you build your scale. If you're just writing in the triads, you are just writing your third and fifth or 2 skips above every single one of those. That's it.